welcome to our second episode of Your Healthcare in Your Hands. I'm here today with Candace, and Candace is a mom of 2 awesome kids that I can't wait to meet. She's also a yoga instructor. She's been working with oils now for a while, and she's actually been working in the past in a healthcare setting. So today we have someone who kind of has some background both in more of a holistic side as well as the traditional medical side. So let's go ahead and get started. What do you want to start with telling me about?
So kind of background on my medical work history. Mm-hmm. I worked as a receptionist at a doctor's office, and he was a primary care physician, but he ended up he also worked at another rehab facility, so he started to incorporate Suboxone treatment into the office. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what I did was the incoming patients, getting their questions and records and all that kind of stuff. And the way that a lot of people ended up coming to Suboxone and wanting to do that wasn't because of they started on heroin or drugs. It was they got into an accident, they had a surgery, I think out of the 20 people that started when I was there, 2 of them were legitimate drugs, started from actual drugs. Everybody else was prescription, from over prescribing and not following up and not checking in on everybody. And so then a lot of people had a big misconception as to I'm going to have to deal with this for the rest of my life, and thinking that it's similar to methadone and things like that. So it was a lot of, it really hit me that there's not that conversation with doctors giving people all of their options and explaining things and letting them know the different avenues and just options that are available to them for treating whatever issues they had. And a lot of them expressed a concern when I spoke to them about their... It's so funny, I love it. A lot of them expressed to me that they brought these up to their doctor and tried to express their concern of becoming addicted or not wanting to take it. And one gentleman started from back surgery, and he told the doctor he didn't want to do pain prescription because of that. He had a brother who had a history with addiction, and he saw what it did, and he didn't want to, and they really didn't give him any other options or show him any other ways, so he ended up in our office with Suboxone treatment.
I feel like a lot of times, the effects of the drugs or the treatments that doctors want you to take, they're almost downplayed. They're not told, because they obviously have to disclose everything, but it's almost this is going to be a lesser of 2 evils. You either you deal with this problem forever, or you take my treatment, which will come with a few side effects. Mm-hmm. And so it's that is the only option kind of thing. So
they really do push it that way. My husband, for example, he has arthritis and discs in his back, and he's had it since he was 16. He got into a really bad car accident and had to be flown to shock trauma, and he thinks it kind of all started from that, and it just deteriorated over time. Yeah. At 22, they were giving him grief because he didn't want to have back surgery.
Oh, wow.
He's like, that could change the course of the rest of my life in a very negative way. I don't want to do that. I mean, we have 2 kids. He's like, I can't be laid up in a bed and be a good father for them and do the things that I need to do. He couldn't work. So he's just found a way to deal with the pain. Now he started using the oils and stuff, so things like that have helped. But with that in particular, they never discussed with him diet, exercise, any other avenue. Nothing was ever brought up except you have to have surgery. You have to have back surgery. If you don't do it now, you're gonna really have to have it in 5 years. It's just I feel like it is clear what their intentions are, and it's not for you.
Right.
And I don't want to say that about abroad with every doctor, but from my experiences, for the most part, it's I'm bothering them if I go to them with an issue and they brush me off to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I had hernia issues growing up. Bless you.
Yeah.
And I had to have 2 hernia surgeries, and which nothing I can't do oils to fix that. There's nothing else that I can really do. But I have like this plug in my like pelvis area, and I went to my gynecologist. I was having really bad pains and cramps and stuff like that. And without even talking to me, a man gynecologist, which drives me crazy as it is. Like, I feel like you should be briefed if you're seeing the man that day because you're not going to understand. So he was like, oh, it's another hernia. I can tell. I can see it. And sent me off. So then I had to go sit for 2 hours at a surgeon's office, go back to the surgeon. And he was like, look, 2 seconds. He was like, it's not a hernia. Like, I know it's not the hernia. I'm like, okay. I can't go back and forth. Like, I can't keep doing that anymore. So it was just like, okay, nobody's going to, like, take the time to figure it out then. You know what I mean? It's just...
It sucks. I have a friend who recently, her ankle, she swears it's, there's something wrong with it. She can't figure it out. It's been like this for a few months. And she goes into her doctor. It's been, like, the 3rd time she's gone in, and they haven't looked at it yet. They just continue to say, like, oh, it must be this, or, like... And she's like, but you haven't looked at it. Like, how are you supposed to diagnose this without even looking down at my ankle?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's not even the only thing. Like, I had another friend who, for a year, it took her to figure out what was wrong with her ankle. Again, it's always the ankle.
Yeah. It's freaking me out because mine's been bothering me. And I'm like, what did I do? Like, it's been driving me nuts.
It's a delicate joint, man.
It is. And it's one of those weird ones that, like,
no matter so many directions.
And there's so much you can do to mess with it.
Yeah.
Like, so simply, too. It's scary.
But that was the thing. It's like, doctors were like, oh, it must be strained or it must be sprained. Or then they started talking about, like, maybe it was in relation to, like, a hamstring injury. And it turned out that she ended up having to go, like, not only to some acupuncturists and some chiropractors and to her primary care physician, she ended up having to go to someone who was, like, knew about Chinese meridians, actually. And it had to do with something that was, like, up in her right ear that was affecting her left ankle. Like, something you would never have thought of, but it was a super simple fix once she was able to get to the information.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just happens all the time. People are very, especially in our country, our doctors are, like, kind of narrow-minded. They're trained to see specifically what they're trained to see, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is great for if you need something very specific to that, but not when it's, like, the whole body.
Yeah.
Which is what we are.
That's literally, like, kind of what I wrote for one of my notes is health is in someone else's hands based on their assumptions.
Right.
Like, it's their opinion, and you're just, which I understand there's a million things that could be wrong, but I feel like it's all very rushed, and it's not like, you're dealing with the symptoms, you're not dealing with the problem.
Right.
Another example that I had was, for me personally, I was very depressed as a child, and like as a teenager. And at the same time that was happening, I had a lot of stomach issues and like digestive issues, which I still have today. And when the stomach issues initially started, there was stress. It was written off as that, which made sense, very plausible. I don't think it's that now, 15 years later, but so there were periods where I was hospitalized for depression, and when I was, the doctors were instead of talking to me about my depression and how I felt and getting to that, they were treating me as if I had an eating disorder. Because I'm thin and I've always been thin.
Yeah.
So, and with the issues with my stomach, I can eat a lot for a period of time, and then it's like I can't eat for a period of time, like a long period of time. So it's not a conscious thing. It's not something I've been able to figure out or control, but so they took that as like, oh, you have an eating disorder. Brought my parents, and my parents were like, she does not have an eating disorder. Like, that's not the problem. That's not what it is. We are very confident. She likes to eat. Like, that's not what it is. And my depression went on the back burner because they were so convinced I had an eating disorder. Right. So it was never like, my issues were never worked on or never focused on. And so I went through the years just figuring like then I'm like questioning everything, like, do I have an eating disorder? Is it like starting to like affect my digestive and it go further than that? And it was really confusing as opposed to like, just give me a therapist who will let me talk to them. Like, let me talk. Don't tell me what I'm feeling or what my issues are. Like, let me talk and explain how I feel, and then maybe we can get a little bit closer to what the real problem is. Yeah. And it just, I mean, I went through up until I got pregnant. Like, it was an ongoing problem. So almost 5 years where it was like ongoing, and it was just, oh, you need to eat.
Yeah. Treatment you needed.
No, yeah, it was
It reminds me because, what is it? I guess Grey's Anatomy, which yes, I know is not an actual representation, but they talk about, what is it, like if you hear footsteps, then horses, not zebras, which totally makes sense, right? Because you don't want to blow it out of proportion and think everything is cancer or something. But at the same time, like having the ability to think outside the box just a little bit, even in your situation, it might, obviously, like they're going to go for it. Yeah, this is what we can see. This is what we know for sure. Like we're going to say it's an eating disorder if we can treat that because of the fact that it's associated with depression. Maybe we can, but it's like if they could have just thought outside the box a little bit and just kind of seen the picture from your point of view rather than this is what I was trained to do.
Yeah.
It may have been like a completely different experience for you.
And that was another situation where it was like there was nothing else brought to like, I mean, I'm 14 and I'm miserable, so I'm not taking the time to like research stuff and go into all that. So there was nothing ever said like, what if you go join a group like this for people interested in stuff that I was interested in, or changing your diet. Like there wasn't anything that was put in front of me other than prescriptions or hey, you have an eating disorder, you need to go to counseling for eating disorder. Like it was nothing else ever discussed, and it's so frustrating to me because then of course my parents are like, oh well, we don't want her to kill herself, so here's antidepressants, here's sleeping pills, here's all this, and that just sets you on this whirlwind that does not end well. Like for most people it ends very, very badly. And I made the decision when it was right after I had my daughter and I was suffering from really, really bad postpartum. It's like something's got to change, and I stopped with the prescription and I went away from that and I just tried to find any other way. So I've been doing that for the last 12 years, is trying to like piece together what issues, because clearly I wasn't getting anywhere with actually talking to like medical professionals.
No, I mean I've had the same experience. I know a lot of people who run into the same experience where they go in, and most of the time when you go into your doctor and tell them that you're feeling depressed or you're feeling suicidal, you're just not feeling well, their immediate response is going to be prescriptions. It's not going to be here's a therapist that I know, or here's a psychologist that I know, or a counselor, anyone. It's always here's a prescription. And what sucks for me is that at one point I was trying out different prescription medications for my depression, and it's funny because as soon as they gave it to me, I didn't feel like an emotional difference whatsoever, but I felt it in my blood pressure. At the time I was actually in the hospital, and I have a very low blood pressure. It's 90/60 on a regular day. And if I'm sleeping at the hospital and they take my blood pressure, it's like right around 40.
Yeah.
So it's extremely low. And immediately, as soon as I took this the same day, my blood pressure spiked up to 120 over 100. And then when I was sleeping, it was still extremely high. And I could feel myself like getting flushed. Every time I wanted to talk, I felt embarrassed. It felt like my anxiety went through the roof. So, and like, those two are complete opposites, but anxiety and depression go hand in hand for a lot of people. And I go back to the doctor and I'm like, hey, like this isn't really working. Can we try something else? And their answer to me was that there's no way the medication could have kicked in yet. You shouldn't be feeling any effects yet. And I'm like, emotionally, we're not talking about that. Like, no, obviously. Like, but the proof is right here in my blood pressure numbers. The proof is in the fact that while I'm speaking to you, my face is bright red and I'm getting nervous and jittery. I was like, there's obviously something with this medication that isn't working. And at that point, I felt like I just wasn't being heard, and I completely stopped. I was like, I'm not even going to focus on this. So again, like for most people, it gets pushed onto the back burner. For me, honestly, what's worked the most is what I put in my body, whether it's the oils that I'm paying attention to or just the nutrition. A lot of times it's like the supplements. I'll like take cayenne, which sounds like it's not at all for like depression whatsoever, but it gives you like a warmer feeling. It helps with me with the cold, but it also just the warm feeling just makes me feel a little bit, I don't know,
alive.
There we go.
I get that. I totally do. I've been doing that with like turmeric lately. And I'm just like smelling it. I'm like, okay. I don't know why. Like I hate the smell, but something about it like gets me up. But it's scary, and it's been. We started because me and my husband have been together since like he was with me even when we were best friends, and then so he was with me through everything. Like he knew it all. So his family has poor health as well. So we knew once we found out like we were pregnant with our daughter, like we need to start changing everything. We need to start taking it seriously. And we have, especially like it like jump started once our son was born, and it's been amazing to see the difference between even like our kids and what their diet is and being around other kids who have a typical American diet. Like it's unreal. Like our kids are much more emotionally level. They don't get those like energy spikes and things like that. Like it makes me sad being at the bus stop and seeing these kids, because it's like I know the problems that has so much further down the road emotionally and mentally, and it's just what you put into your body is so important. So the fact that doctors ignore the nutrition aspect of it and just push for the chemical aspect of it is so infuriating and frustrating. And it just, like one of my friends, her doctor has her on a bunch of anxiety and depression, and then they were trying to get her on sleeping pills too, and she was like, no, I'm not doing that. So she started taking melatonin. I was like, that's still not like, it's not like, do you look at what's in that too? Like, do you look at how that's going to affect you? Like, that's still not good. There are so many natural remedies. Like, even if you don't want to ingest anything, just diffusing or spraying it on your pillow. Like, there's so many other avenues than putting more chemicals into your body.
And honestly, I mean, I've tried melatonin. I have terrible, like, I can't fall asleep ever. And everyone was like, oh, try melatonin. You know, like, we know that you like to go a more natural way. Like, try this. And it was the same as with everything else. I would either get, like, terrible nightmares that would end up waking me up in the middle of the night anyways. Or I fall into such a deep sleep that the next morning I either will not wake up on time, like I just will sleep through my alarm, or I wake up and I feel like I'm hungover. And I'm like, I don't need this. This is why I tried to fall asleep, so I can wake up feeling refreshed, not wake up with this like hangover effect or late for whatever.
I always woke up, like the few times I did try it, I had such a headache when I woke up. It was like you said, like a hangover. Like I got no sleep at all, but I did sleep, and it's not a good feeling. And it's frustrating because people don't, because it's not something doctors talk about, and they take all everything a doctor says as gospel. Like people don't realize that there's so many other natural, cheaper solutions. Like I was able to eliminate all of the medications, all of the depression by eating right, oils, and yoga. Like that changed my entire life because I'm not doing all that extra nonsense anymore. And it's been crazy just to sit back and see. And like even our family says stuff, and they'll like joke about it when they give our kids like extra food and stuff, or like candy and things like that. Like, we know you don't like it, but I'm like, yeah, but there's reasons why we don't. It's not just like, oh, we don't want our kids to be fat and eat a bunch of sugar. Like, no, we know how it affects the rest of their body, and it's very important to us to have them fully healthy. Like
how have you dealt with that? Because that was like one of the things I was like, I have to pick my battles here.
It's been hard. It's gotten easier now that my husband is, because he's the type of person, he like lets stuff roll off his shoulders, and I'm not gonna have the conversation. He's like, it's not worth it. But he has started to, because especially like our daughter, she's 12. She's gonna be 12 in July. So like she's getting to that age where her body's changing and all those things, and his family is like my family's very thin, his is not. So she's starting to develop that more like shapely type, and he's like, I just want to be sure that it doesn't become a problem. Like if she's a thicker girl, she's a thicker girl, but she doesn't need to be overweight or have those extra issues for herself. And he's started to step up and say something. Like with my family, I'm the sarcastic jerk of the family. Like everybody knows that I'm different. The way I do everything is different, and it will always be like that. So they expect it with me, and they kind of like, it's just a joke, but they For the most part, listen. His family, it took him really kind of like snapping one day, and went off because he's way more about the food than I am. Like that's kind of his area, and everything else is kind of mine, like the cleaning products and things like that.
Yeah.
So it surprised me that it took him so long to snap, as important as it is to him, because he used to be an overweight child, so he wants to make sure that's not an issue.
Yeah. And
he lost it on his mom one day and was like, because she always says that, I know you don't like this butt, and he's like, no butt. No, like he was like, I know everybody thinks it's like, oh, we're gonna be the cool grandparents and the kids are gonna love us more if we give them candy. He's like, that's not how it works with us. Like, you are hurting them. You're not helping them. You're not doing anything that benefits them except making them love you more for 5 seconds. Like, no good is coming of it except you feel good, but really you shouldn't, because you're putting almost poison into their bodies.
Yeah.
Like, stop letting my 5-year-old drink your soda. Stop giving them a bunch of candy. Like, don't give them Pop-Tarts. If you know we don't eat this stuff, don't give it to them when we're not around. Like, if it's not something that's in our home, don't give it to them outside of our home.
Right.
It's really simple. And I think it's changed since he did that. I kind of like, it's been, for me, I kind of have to keep my distance because I get, especially on his side of the family, they're very much born and raised Cecil County, so I'm really different for them. Like, me with yoga and essential oils is like, what planet did she get beamed down from? Because she is not from here. It is very obvious, so I kind of have started to keep my distance as we've gotten a little bit deeper into it. But it's getting better. But our kids know, like, that's the good thing, is that they know, because there have been so many times when my daughter was younger where she would come home from spending the day with somebody and she's throwing up or she has diarrhea, and it's because she went to Burger King or McDonald's and ate as much crap as they let her eat. And now they see, and they're they have their oil, so if something does happen, like to see my 5-year-old go and grab, like, today he woke up stuffy, so he got his little breathe roller and like rubbed it on his chest. Like, just handles it himself. So he knows when he goes with somebody else, he always takes his belly oil. He takes it with him everywhere he goes now. So it's.
I should start doing that.
Yeah, we have the little roller. So I have breathe and eucalyptus in one and digestin in the other, and he everywhere he goes, he takes them with him because he needs them.
Yeah.
That's
what I took with my daughter was she actually, so most of the women on my mom's side of my family have some kind of, not lactose intolerance, but like lactose issues. Yeah. And for me, it's just milk, creamer, and ice cream. And for her, it's really like just milk and ice cream. And no one believed me. And they kept taking her to Friendlies, and I was like, maybe it's because it's like not good food. Maybe you should try something at home instead. Yeah. And it took for her to get sick at, grandparents, aunts and uncles' homes over the course of like 6 months before anyone was like, oh, maybe there really is an issue with this food. So, yeah, I mean, I had to pick my battles, and I was like, this one is not like, the biggest battle, but soda was the one I put my foot down. I was like, as long as we don't do soda, I'm like, the rest of it, I can handle. Yeah. Because, and that's the same thing, we talked to her about it. So she was aware of what it was. She started standing up for herself with it, and she was like, I can't have ice cream, like, it will make me sick. Yeah. And the fact that, like, she knew what was going to work for her was just, it was so much better, because I feel like she can go to a friend's house. I don't have to monitor her friend's parents. She can go to a grandparent's house, and she would get all the candy stuffed in her pockets and come home and be so embarrassed she didn't want to tell us that she had said okay to it, but she also didn't want to eat it because she knew she would get sick. We had candy wrappers in our washer for weeks. We were like clogging it for dinner.
That's awesome.
It was upsetting because the washer was breaking, but it was amazing because I'm like, she's getting it. Yeah. She's independent. She's making these choices for herself, and they're the good choices. Yeah. So it's really awesome to be able to see your kids be able to do that.
It's so exciting.
Sending her though with her own little bottles.
Yeah, it's so convenient to have, especially because we've had the same thing where it's like they don't take us, the family doesn't take us seriously when we say these things. Like, even if they don't have a direct reaction out of anything, which that would have set me over the edge if they kept doing that. But we have we don't have soda in our house. We haven't drank soda in years. Like, that's not something, and our family knows that. Like, when we go to functions, I bring my water bottle. Like, we all have our own little Swell bottles and stuff. Like, we take precautions to come prepared when we go other places when it comes to things like that. But they just never take us seriously. So now it's not, like, my daughter, because she's almost 12 and she wants to try to be cool, like, she'll like sneak around and try to like do it when she's at other places. But my son, he's like, nope. I want water and milk to drink. Like, I'm not drinking soda. But so it'll frustrate me because I know he does that, and then they're like, oh, it's not a big deal. Go ahead. And I'm like, if he's saying no, respect that and let it go. Like, nothing else should be said about it. Like, let him make the decision as to what he wants to have.
It's amazing though how much like other family members or other families will try to put their input, not even like just on you as a mom, because that was one issue. I was just like, I am mom, like, let's respect me. But then at the kids level too, like I said, my daughter was, getting empowered. She was telling people like, I can't have this makes me sick, I don't want this. She used to get into arguments with people about soda. I told her it would make her go bald. There's no proof to it, but it
totally could happen.
But so she would tell people this, and they would get into like arguments with her. And I'm like, first of all, you're arguing with a 5-year-old about her needing to drink soda.
Yeah.
Like, where is this coming from?
Yep.
But it's amazing just the amount of like, I guess, misinformation or ideas that people have that like this is okay, and not only is it okay, but like she should be able to experience it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, like it's not even a necessary experience.
Yeah, they talk to us like we're depriving our kids because they're not experiencing these tastes and things like that. I'm like, do you understand how good the food that they eat is?
Right.
Like, they're not eating flavorless nonsense. Like, they're eating good food and they're happy about it. Like, my kids request Brussels sprouts and asparagus. I don't know any other kids that request things like that.
But it's because their taste buds aren't overtaken by the salt, the artificial flavoring, and the sugars that's in everything else.
Yep.
It's amazing how much you taste more once you cut sugar and, well, not all salt, but I love salt. But once you cut out like the artificialness and the sugars and at least some of the salt, you can taste so much more.
Yeah, and just monitor it all of it. Yeah.
And you start cooking, and I was reading something the other day that was like the amount of different foods that come from our earth and the different flavors that there are. If you can tell me that sugar or artificialness is like somehow going to be better than all of this amazingness we have on our earth that we produce out of the ground.
It just happened.
Like,
it's here for us.
You must be insane to think that somehow a lab is somehow able to create better food than our earth. And that's the other thing is, when you're in high school, when you're in middle school, when you go into science class, like the number one rule they tell you is not to bring food. You should never have food in a lab. But yet we trust food that comes out of a lab more than we trust food that grows in like our backyards.
It's insane. It's absolute insanity. Like, I just don't get it. And it's like, how are we the weird ones in it all? Like, how are we the strange ones that we see this and like appreciate it and take advantage of it? And like, it blows my mind. So one of the big things was fast food for us. Like, I was never really that much of a fan of it, but my husband, like with working, he would go and get it. And that was always like anybody who took the kids, they wanted to take it. I'm like, oh, let's go to McDonald's and go to the play place and stuff. So it finally took like McKaylin actually crapping in her pants and throwing up all over herself for it to stop. Like, she's sobbing in just a mess, and I like had to put my foot down. I was like, nobody ever take them anywhere like this again. Like, it was very angry mass text message that was sent out that day. I'm like, it needs to be taken seriously, clearly. Right. Unless somebody's gonna come over here and deal with her sobbing and this mess, like, you can't do this to her. Like, it's not a good thing because it's easier for you. Right. You think it's fun, it's not. Like, nothing about it is good. Yeah. Take them somewhere else and do something. Go have a picnic. Like, go to an actual park.
Yeah. Like, there's so much more fun.
Yeah, like, go do something else. You don't need to go hang out there and eat cheap, crappy food.
Because that's the thing is a lot of people just look at it as ease. They're like, okay, I'm watching your kid for you. Like, I'm going to take them here because it's easier for me. I actually got to the point where I would start packing her food and being like, here, that way you don't have to worry about, like, am I making something healthy?
Yeah.
I mean, people would get annoyed by it, and then most of the time it would get sent back.
I was like, I did it, and it was
it
never got touched.
They were like, we made mac and cheese, and I'm like, but I gave you like food right here
Yeah.
that you didn't have to go spend money on, and this was 10 times healthier.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, and she eats it. That you don't have to bribe her.
Yeah.
Like, she enjoys it. So.
Yeah, it's exhausting with trying to like be a parent and get it through everybody's head because they're so set in their ways. That's like me and my husband every time we go back to, because we're always like, let's have everybody come over and we'll make dinner.
Right.
We'll do something and show them, and people are like, you're making dinner? Like,
yes.
I'm like, you guys think, like, what do you think we're eating?
They come over and I got like 3 bowls of vegetables and there's only like 1 starch, and they're like, we need more.
Yeah.
No, trust me, like the vegetables are good.
Yeah.
Just try them.
That's like one of our favorite go-to dishes is just a skillet with whatever veggies we have and potatoes and stuff, and just cooking it all. And so we'll put, like, my son is obsessed with spinach and kale. Like, he loves leaves.
Nice. Yeah.
So he wants them in everything. So we have it like it's loaded up with that, and we won't make anything else. Like, they eat meat, I don't eat meat, I don't cook meat, so unless my husband feels like actually going through it all and cooking it, we generally don't have meat. Like, it's very rare that, where most people are like that, you have to have meat with dinner. Like, what are you doing? How do you have so many veggies and no meat? Like, I don't get it. And it's been really kind of like trying to open their eyes, but they're all so scared. Like, if you would just shut up and take a bite, like, you have no problem not only going to a fast food restaurant and getting food that's made by an underpaid stranger who more than likely hates their job. That's crap that's been shipped in and out from different places. Yeah. You'd rather eat that than eat my food that I got everything from the farmer's market. Like, really? Like, I worked before the last job that I worked before I left to do yoga and essential oils was I was an account executive for a distribution company, so we delivered food to Chick-fil-A. I was going to not say the chain, but I was going to say, okay. So we delivered food to Chick-fil-A's. So one of my jobs was that I worked directly with Chick-fil-A corporate. I cannot tell you how many chicken recalls we had that was not put out to the public. Like,
everyone's gonna like freak out now because everyone loves Chick-fil-A.
Everybody always plays. It is so many, and like the quality of going back into some of those kitchens, like it was just a very eye-opening experience for me on the fast food side of like these. Most of those like Chick-fil-A people, for the most part, they are happier, they are nicer, they aren't as underpaid as most like McDonald's or Burger King. So it's not as bad, but the fact that it was still bad was like eye-opening for me, and like everybody just raves that this is the most amazing place where even they're having these problems with this meat and this stuff coming in because it's not being properly created. Like it's
funny you say Chick-fil-A though, because that's the one place. My daughter loves it. And she gets it as like a snack every once in a while as like a super special treat. Like when we were moving here, we had to stop and get some food on the way, and I think that's the last time she had it. Yeah. But it's the same thing. People assume that like just because you're going to, a Chick-fil-A rather than a fast food, which I definitely consider Chick-fil-A fast food, or that you're going to a restaurant rather than a fast food. And I'm like, my husband and I, we can't go out to eat anymore. Which sucks. I would love for us to have someone cook for us. But every time we go out, even when it's a nicer restaurant, we get sick to our stomachs. Every single time. And it's just, like, why? How are so many restaurants getting such poor quality food to serve to people, and yet they're still able to charge so much, and they're still able to say it's, like, better for you, it's healthier for you. I mean, there's all these new restaurants, like the Trains and the farm to table, and I'm like, I want to try them. I was like, but at the same time, if it's going to be anything like the organic foods that I get at regular restaurants, like, I still get sick when I try to get like a salad from anywhere. You should check out Harvest, because we're the same way. Like, we are pretty picky about where we eat out. Like, we don't do that very often. That is one of the only places that I like long to go to. Like, we went because it changes seasonally. It's on 202 by the Whole Foods.
It's like right over the line like if you go up Kirkwood, it's right over the line in PA.
Okay.
Like right when you cross over.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So everything is like it's all seasonal and it changes every few months, and you can go on the website and like see what the menu is for that, and everything was like amazing. And it was nice because we didn't leave. My husband always has this thing. He's gotten better now since he's been like aware of his weight. Not that he's fat or anything, but since he's gotten like more hyper aware that, okay, I'm getting older, I'm gonna start holding weight kind of thing. He used to always like when we would go out to eat, it was like a celebration. So he would eat like he's a freaking king about to go to war or something, and like be so full he's like dead on the ride home and he can't drive and is falling asleep. And that was the last place we went where it was like we felt good when we left. Like we felt like we didn't feel like weighted down, and it was nice. It was really, really good.
That's awesome.
Yes, so I suggest there. It's delicious. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I've been wanting to take the kids because I think that that's like actually stuff that they would eat, which is nice.
Yeah, honestly, anywhere that I can go where it's like we can go out and eat and not feel sick afterwards or actually physically get sick, I'm all for trying because it is. Like, you forget about the fact that, like, you can use beets to make it just as sweet, just as colorful.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of, like, the leafy greens, as long as you're not using, like, the super dark ones that are more bitter, you can get so much nutrition without adding, like, a negative flavor if you don't like the bitterness.
Yeah.
But people forget about that kind of stuff. And I'm like, just make it yourself, man.
Yeah. Because I hate celery. I hate it.
Yeah.
I cannot eat celery to save my life. We tried juicing it, and it made me even more sick. But if I put it in a smoothie, I get it. Like, I like it. So I can do it that way. And, like, we used to do, our juicer broke now. I'm like, oh, I need another one. Because I'm thinking, I hate broccoli stems. I hate them. I've gotten better now that I've gotten older, but, like, I hate the broccoli stems. But so that's, like, all that nutrition that I'm not getting. So I would start juicing them and mixing them all, like, putting in. I would do those with the celery and, like, some sort of fruit and balance it out, like an apple. I think that's what I did it with, and it was so good. So it's like I'm getting that extra stuff that I wouldn't get any other way. Yeah, which is a nice little substitute for a lot of people who don't want to sit and eat a salad or do things like that, where it's never talked about, like how beneficial that can really be by doing that. Like it's never discussed.
Plus the thing is, a lot of people don't even start paying attention to the foods that they're eating or, you know, the things they're putting in their body until they have kids. So I know that was, for me, that was like, I didn't really trust doctors until I had Savannah. And I was like, all right, I need to start thinking about health, stop thinking about me. Yeah. You know, same thing with food. I was like, I would eat chips. Like, who cares? I'm like, you know, I just need to survive the day. Yeah. And then when I had Savannah, I'm like, I have to start thinking about what am I feeding her? What am I setting her up for? So I think that's, for me, one of the big things that kind of brought me into paying attention more to the essential oils, trying to work with my doctor, and then as well at home with like my own health care. What was one of the things that brought you into oils?
It ultimately started with just trying to eliminate the toxins and with like the cleaning products and things like that, because I started to notice as I was pregnant how it was affecting me, and that I was starting to feel that like chest tightness and things like that. And I just became like really hyper aware of how bad it all is, because like you said, you're bringing this kid into the world and you gotta start thinking about all these things. So it was like when I was pregnant with her, I didn't work or anything like that, so I was just there to like stew with my thoughts. So a lot of that was the stuff in our home and what's around us. So it originally started out with like I was making the bath products and things like that, and then it went to cleaning. And it wasn't until I started with doTERRA almost 2 years ago, that I realized it could be something that could support my health and my emotional. Where before I was doing
technical difficulties. Sorry. We're gonna try this one more time. But yeah, you were saying like it opened up like I guess a different dynamic with your family.
Yeah, it was like our whole kind of perception shifted, and instead of like with my stomach issue, that ends up putting me in a bad mood, and it ends up drastically affecting my day, the days where it's a problem. So now I'm able to grab these few little tools for my mood and my stomach and use them, and everybody benefits from it. Like, we're able to kind of, I feel like we all just kind of like slow down almost. We are not living this like fast-paced life that we see everybody else around us living, and we are able to, like, when we're home together, and it's like, it's just shifted a lot of things that I didn't think essential oils would end up like bleeding into. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought like, hey, it's gonna help me feel better and they smell good and it's gonna be nice in the house. But it's been so much more than that, which still takes me by surprise, like every day. Like, me and my son have a routine with his oils every morning. He got the kids collection, so we get like, and that's like our time in the morning. We're getting like, it's a regular thing, and it's helped create a nice routine for him that he knows he can go do himself, and it gives them empowerment and independence that kids need. Like, kids don't have that a lot these days, and so it's nice to see them, and at such young ages, be aware of their body and their emotions, which if I would have had that when I was their age, I would have never ended up spending those 5 years that I did in hell. Like, that would have never happened.
Right, because been more empowered.
Yeah, I would have been like okay with my emotions. Like, I grew up to where I was like, we don't talk about this. Like, we just don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. If we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. And if we would have had tools like this to make us all feel okay with talking about it, like, we can all get the balance and use it, and we're all just grounded, and we can talk and have a conversation about whatever the issues are. Like, we have a whole lot of mess of problems going on with my 12-year-old with like school and things like that, and the households that me and my husband grew up in, it would have been screaming, it would have been punishing, and it's like, okay, let's all just calm down, let's discuss what's going on, and let's have a reasonable conversation. And it's been crazy to see how just from using oils, that's kind of just shifted into our everyday life, where we're able to just breathe and take a second and like, okay, let's handle whatever we have to deal with now. And it's been really beautiful to see. Like, I don't think our family has been this good ever. Like, and it's just like each day is better and better. Yeah. It's been really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really exciting to see how they've like shifted everything. We're just all happier. Like, I feel like I found a community, my husband's finding a community, like, my kids are fitting in everywhere. Like, it's just nice that we've all kind of like, it's like we've settled into where we're supposed to be. Yeah. I guess that's like the nicest way to put it.
Well, no, community is a big thing. Just as human beings, we crave that sense of community, that sense of needing to belong to a group. So that's why it's really awesome that you actually are doing this as a family, you know? Yeah. You're all kind of, it was new to all of you at the same point, and you guys are all like slowly on this journey together. So I'm sure that helps to bring you guys even closer as well. Yeah. I know that when I first started out with oils and I was like using, you know, the kinds you get at Whole Foods, and you can get just about anywhere, and it was just about like something that smelled good. Yeah. It was never about like, this can help with anxiety, this can help with stress, this can help with depression, this can help with eating, this can help with so many different things. It was just, oh, like, this smells pretty. It's like scented candles. Like, you think they smell good, so you put them in. Like, you're not worrying about the fact that these essential oils that you're buying from anywhere that may be labeled organic aren't actually always pure. Yeah. A lot of times it's a synthetic. It's another fragrance.
Same as with fragrance ones. They kill me. Oh my god.
Have you watched Stink?
No, I need to like dedicate time because I know I'm gonna get really worked up watching it. So I need to like prepare myself for it, because I was very excited that they put something like that out, because like all the food ones and stuff, so we always push those on people, but that's one that people don't think about. Yeah. Like, my husband is a candle obsessed freak. Like,
as most of us are.
Yes. It's been very hard for him to like go through this, especially now with like the fall stuff. Like, he's a typical white girl when it comes to those things. Like, he loves his spice scents. So his mom was talking to him, and she got me a candle for Christmas or whatever, and he was like, she's not gonna burn that. Like, and she was like, really? Why? And he's like, he doesn't think as much about the candles. Like, he sees it with a lot of other stuff, but with the candles, he's still like, not bad. Yeah. So she like just couldn't fathom that would be a negative thing. Like,
yeah.
It's just, they take it as like me being a crazy person. Like, no, if you seriously brought that in my house and burned, I would not be able to breathe now because I'm not around that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important, and I don't understand how people don't see it. Like, it drives me crazy. And then like to talk to me like I'm a lunatic because I don't want to have this stuff in my house. Like, it's one thing if you don't agree with me, but don't put me down because of it. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the biggest issues that we've kind of have to come across each day is like, you're a crazy person because you don't burn candles. Sorry, I like to breathe.
Yeah, but I like my lungs to work on a daily basis.
Let's have open airflow. I apologize.
It's amazing though. Even so, it was like, I think it was once I started really telling people that I was using essential oils and that I was doing this more like natural and holistic path and journey in my own home.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing the amount of like, what is it, the little wax, it melts the wax.
Yeah.
Diffuse. I got one of those. Mm-hmm. I got all the different wax scents for it. People were gifting me candles. People were gifting me car diffusers. And they're like, here, aromatherapy. And I'm like, no.
That's not
I think I hope you understand that all of this is getting thrown in the trash.
Yeah.
Like, I don't use any of these. It's like, number one, they don't smell good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand the smell of most cleaning products, the smell of most candles. And I was the same way. I loved candles. Like, I was like the person that had 12 of them lit in my house at all times. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Like, it literally makes me sick at this point. Smelling it, I get a headache. And it's the same thing with the smells as it is with the food. Once you get away from the synthetics, from the fakeness of it all, your nostrils open up to like a whole new thing.
Yeah.
As soon as you smell something fake, you're like, no, like this isn't gonna work. I'm gonna get sick. Whatever. So it's, if you can just like disconnect, whether it's you're disconnecting with the food, whether you're disconnecting with the smell, disconnecting from a phone, just disconnect and get back to like what's real.
Yeah.
You start to see things and experience things in a completely different way.
I think that's kind of like what it's been with our, like I said, our family's whole perspective is changing. Because like I was always a very, very picky eater, like very annoyingly picky eater. And my husband's always given me crap. Like I never had the divider plates, but I always wanted the divider plates because like I didn't like myself to touch. I was not like that person.
Like OCD level or like?
No, it just flavors and stuff. It wasn't like, it's not like that. But it was just like, I don't want the flavors and mix and things like that. And it's so funny because like I said, our favorite meal is a skillet of just random crap now where 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh, hell no. I'm not eating that. I'm not going to happen.
This one gets cooked in this pan. This one gets cooked
like, it is not happening. But it's like now it's because I cut out all that other crap and the refined sugar and all that other junk, I love the taste of it. Like, it's so much more fulfilling to me now than having, like, a burger from Burger King or things like that. Like, it's a whole different level to where, like you said, if people don't disconnect, they're not going to see that. If they don't take the chance to, like, let that guard down, give it a try, they're never going to know. And it's always going to seem like nonsense, but I'm not surprised that it's our generation that's the one that's kind of, like, stepping back from that and, like, okay, well, clearly something's not working because... I mean, at this point, like, all of my friends' parents, if they are still alive, they've had some sort of cancer, like, some sort of health issue. I think out of everybody I know, my parents are the only ones that don't have anything, like, serious. And it's because, I mean, I feel like it's directly linked to all of the nonsense that they've been putting in their bodies for all these years because they just take it as... well, this is okay. They put this out there. Why would anybody tell me any differently? Like, it's just really sad to see. And they, like, when you try to talk to them about it, nobody wants to listen.
Yeah.
Like, my mother-in-law has very poor eating habits, and she has issues with her weight and her health. And she's like, I know I need to do this, but I just don't know how. And we're like, come over. We will tell you. We will lay it all down. Oh, that's just so much work. Like, it's really not. And it's cheap. Like, I feel like we're saving money. Like, everybody thinks it's cheaper to eat healthier or more expensive to eat healthier. I think we've...
in the long run, it's not. Because you're not having to spend money on doctor's visits. You're not having to spend money on additional supplements. You're not having to spend money on whatever medications you end up getting put on for not having a healthy diet. I mean, it may be more expensive up front on the food cost, but in the long run, you're saving so much money and time.
Crazy. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Like for me, that having that time is like so nice to where I don't have to like go and sit for 4+ hours in a doctor's office to do anything, to just have them look at me or not look at me for 2 seconds and send me on my way.
Yeah.
Like it's, because then after every situation like that, I would just get deeper into a depression. Like I would just get more upset and like, am I never gonna feel okay? Like am I never gonna, is this just what I'm supposed to feel like? Is this how everybody feels and I'm just a baby about it? Like it causes this whole ripple effect when your health is neglected, that people don't, whether it's you neglecting it or your doctor or your therapist, like whoever, if it's neglected, it changes everything. And people just don't seem to see the importance of it, and it's mind-blowing how, like, this is literally, your health is everything. Like, that's everything. You don't exist without that. Like, there's nothing if you don't have that. So the fact that people just don't take it seriously and take that time to like take a step back and look and see there are other options to avoid going to the doctor, and
it's also the lack of education, honestly. I see so many people, there's actually a word for it at this point. Some people call it the collywobble, some people, like whatever you want to call it, but it's that extra mucus that develops when you've eaten something that you have an allergic reaction to. Most people have no idea that that's an allergic reaction to the food that they're eating, and that they should most likely try to figure out what it is in that food that's giving them this reaction.
Yes.
They just think it's normal. You know, it's like you eat mac and cheese and the next thing you know, your stomach hurts, or you have a beer. A lot of people, it's with alcohol. Yeah. They have a beer and the next thing you know, you've got that phlegm. And I'm like, well, that's actually an allergy. Most people have no idea about this. So they're just like, oh, it's just what happens when you eat this. Or like, I drink the milk specifically because it coats my throat. And I'm like, no, like you're actually hurting your body doing this. But it's that lack of education. No one really knows. It's not something that your doctor's going to tell you. I've never at any health visit been asked, do any foods make you, know, get phlegm? Yeah. Like, no. But that's a dead giveaway to whether you have an intolerance to lactose or to any kind of food, honestly. Yeah. But I mean, that was what ended up giving it away for me. It was that, it was all lactose. It wasn't just that I didn't like milk. It was that lactose, I have an issue with it. Like, I have an aversion to it. I just can't do it. But yeah, it's like, it's not taught. It's not brought up. And so it's ignored, and so people think it's normal. And so we keep doing it, thinking that, oh, this is totally normal.
Yeah, this is how it's supposed to be.
And you're hurting yourself without even knowing it.
Yeah. And it's so funny you brought up the phlegm thing, because I realized that that was part of the issues with my stomach. Yeah. Like, I would wake up and it was like I could just feel like this phlegm run down to my gut, and so we've started, like, obviously eliminating things out of the diet and stuff, and I started doing a neti pot every morning and every night because it's really bad when I wake up sometimes. So I did that, and I went to go see because the doctor I go to is the one that I used to work for, because I trust him, and I know like he looks at me as a daughter, so I totally have like my faith in his hands, and I can tell him like I'm not doing that, and he's like, okay, just whatever you want to do. And so I went in to go talk to him about my stomach one day, and I told him about, he was asking me how it was going and stuff, and I said, it's been better since I started doing this. And he was like, really? And I was like, shouldn't you have been the one telling me that? Like, would it be reversed?
All the way reversed.
Yeah, like, and he was like, really? That's helping? I was like, it's been a game changer. Like, it's changed so much. So he's like, oh, well, I guess we need to figure out why you have so much mucus then. I'm like, yeah, I'm already on it. Like, I'm eliminating everything. Like, I'm working my way through and keeping track of what I eat and seeing how it affects me. And I think it's that, and I think it's laziness, too. Because I think a lot of people realize that, like, there's a lot of information out there. Yeah. But you have to sift through. You have to take the time, and a lot of people want things laid out in front of them, which is what this whole easy healthcare American diet is. It's simplicity. It's not about you or being at your best or anything like that. It's
about that instant gratification. Like, I have a headache and I want it gone now, so I'm going to take an aspirin, rather than like try some peppermint.
Yeah.
Which may take a little bit longer to kick in.
Yeah.
May not cure the headache right away, but it's going to make you feel better and won't make your stomach bleed.
Yeah. It's not going to mess up your liver or kidney or anything like that. Yeah.
But we live in this, like, we want the answer right now. If we Google it, like, we don't even wait to get to the doctors. We Google it and ask Google. Dr. Google is been, like, the answer to everything for everyone.
Yep.
And most of the time, like you said, there's so much information. You have to sift through. You have to realize what's real, what's not. Once you get all that real information, then you have to go through the trial and error period where, you know, same as your doctor does. You try the one medication. If that doesn't work, you switch to another and you keep trying. But that's so much to put on people.
Yeah.
They're like, this is unattainable. I'm never going to be able to figure it out. And it's like, no, you will. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. So, I mean, I get that people, like, may not always have the time or want to be able to try it all, but I feel like if you can at least start and try maybe, one, you may just, your eyes may open. Yeah. Because if you try one thing and, like, say digestion hadn't worked for you, you know, it may not have cured everything that was going on, but you may have discovered, like, maybe it just helps with when I, you know, feel like I'm nauseous. Yeah. And then there's so many other options, though, out there. Even through digestion, there's the Terrazons and everything. Yeah. There's another door, though. So once you step your foot in the door, it just opens up a world of possibilities.
Yeah. That's really how it was once I started with, like, using the oils consistently to support myself physically and mentally. It was kind of like, it's trial and error, and it's seen because especially, like, everybody's body's different, everybody reacts differently, so it's all about figuring things out. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles with my husband, trying to get him into it. He's like, well, you said this will work. I'm like, well, it works for me, but you have different issues than I do, so you need to tell me what didn't happen, what did happen, so we can work on it and figure out another way. But because especially with him, like, he's not going to go get surgery, he's not going to go to the doctor, so at least try these other options to try to eliminate some of the pain and try to ease out of it and stuff. And it's been helping. Like, but looking at our diet, he noticed, like, when I eat these foods for dinner, I have back pain the next day. Like, I wake up in pain. So you don't eat those anymore. Like, it's all about, I feel like people want the doctors to tell them what to do, and they want everybody to tell them how to do it, instead of, like, realizing we're all different, so you need to figure out what works for you. And it's not always going to be what the doctor says. It's not always going to be whatever the crazy oil lady is going to say. Like, it's never going to be that, but you need to figure it out. And I don't think that it took me, like, just leaving my job and being like, hey, I'm going to be a yoga teacher and do essential oils for the rest of my life, like, because I had to take it into my, like, I had to, like, I can't help people if I can't help myself. So it's kind of like, I need to do this to figure out what's wrong with me and get myself better. And I don't think I've ever, like, I've never been this healthy, I've never felt this good. I feel like just all around, everything about it, and it's been trial and error. Like, it is, it's just figuring everything out. For me, though, like, I read, I listen to what other people say, I take other people's advice, and if it doesn't work, I figure out what works for me.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I wish that medical professionals had a little bit more information as far as holistic practices. And I totally get it, because I was talking about this the last time, but most of the time doctors are so immersed in trying to see a certain number of patients so that they can make enough money to pay off their loans. They don't even have the time to keep up with everything that's new in the medical industry. Yeah. So, but I mean, I wish they did have that ability, because then something like the neti pot, because everyone's, like, nasal passages are different. Everyone's ear canals are different. My husband cleans his ears with hydrogen peroxide. I can't put anything in my ears because my ear canal is just the I guess, designed. Yeah. If you put something in there, it won't come back out at all. So, but that's, like, the kind of thing that, like, you won't know unless you have a doctor that can kind of look in your ear and see something. And I'm like, that's why I wish that, doctors were more, I guess, in tune with or able to study these things. Yeah. But at the same time, it really is. It's in your hands. Yeah. That's the whole point of this. Like, your healthcare, it's in your hands. You have to take responsibility for it.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize that, like, you can.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Like, you can actually do it. Yeah. You don't need, like, it's not some, like, our family thinks we're crazy because we do these things. Like, Jackson had a fever one night. He woke up running a fever and like ears all red. He was just on fire. I grabbed peppermint lavender, and within 10 minutes, and they were like, "Oh my God, you didn't take him to the doctor? You didn't do it." Why would I take him to the doctor?
Yeah.
Why would I drag him out in the middle of the night to go to the doctor when he's already sick?
Yeah.
What? He has a fever. Go home. Like, that's exactly what would have happened.
Yeah.
So, or they would have given him,
there.
yeah. Or if it would have been something else, it would have been antibiotic or anything else. But we were
Right.
able to eliminate that, and within 10 minutes, he was back asleep and fine. Like, you can do it, and it's so much easier than people think it is. Like, it's not. We didn't drastically drop one life and start another one.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like that. It's been a progressive change that, at this point, I would say we've been doing it probably consistently about 6-7 years, like really on top of everything.
Yeah.
And it's been progressive. Like, we still have stuff in our house I don't want in my house. Like, we still have that stuff. It's just we're working our way, but we also we don't eliminate stuff until we know a better substitute.
Right.
Like, because we want to be sure that we're not going backwards in what we're taking out. So, like, certain things with food and stuff like that, like, we're making sure we're very actively doing research when it comes to that stuff. And, like, his issues with his back and things, it's been so much better. My kids have not been sick. Like, we have no